Hi, this is Joy at Red Pine Quilt Shop. Today we are talking about punch needle and how to do punch needle projects. So the first key thing to doing punch needle is you have to have a very tightly fitting hoop that can really hold the fabric and keep the fabric nice and tight. So the hoop that we like to use is a Morgan hoop, and it actually has a groove in the one hoop and it has a very definite ridge in the other hoop, and that groove and ridge lock together so that it can grip the fabric really tightly, much more tightly than a standard embroidery hoop. So to use the Morgan hoop, you'll load it like a standard embroidery hoop, but that tongue and groove design really lets it grip the fabric so it can stay tight while you are punching. So you want to make sure that you load your hoop up and you get it really tight. So I'm going to go ahead and start to tighten this, and then I'm going to actually tug a bit on my fabric to pull it so it's nice and tight. You really want it drum tight. So as I'm tightening my hoop, I will start to tug on the back side, and I'm going to work my way all the way around because I want to make sure that I'm not distorting my fabric, that I'm just tugging and snugging it up and getting it to that drum tight level in my hoop, and then I will go ahead and finish tightening it. But do watch, you want to make sure you're not distorting it. Make sure you've got a nice square edge to your design and you haven't pulled a bow into it, and you can tell by looking at those sidelines on your design. So that is one option for hooping. The other option is to actually use a gripper strip frame. So this is a couple inch thick wooden frame. I'm just going to flip it over so you guys can see the back side. So it's a couple inches thick, and it has what is called gripper strip on it. So I'm just going to lift a little bit of the fabric so you can see it. And these are actually very sharp little pins that are on the gripper strip. And with this frame, I can simply pull my fabric over it and I can keep stretching and tightening. And again, tighten it so it's drum tight. You really want it nice and taut, but you don't want to distort it. You want it as tight as you can get it while keeping it nice and square and not distorted, because it's key to having it very tight so that when you're punching, you get nice, clean punch stitches. Now, the gripper strip hoop comes with a protective cover, so I will pop that back on so that it covers those sharp pokey pins, because otherwise you can snag your clothing and things like that while you're working with this type of a hoop. So you want to make sure you've got a protective cover to cover those edges. So that is how to hoop your fabric. Now the fabric is the other key item to punch needle. We like to use a fabric called the weaver's cloth. It is a cotton poly blend. It is a very finely woven fabric, and it is a very tightly woven fabric. And you really need that fine, tight weave to help your stitches form and to get nice, clean, consistent stitches. So we like to use weaver's cloth. The patterns that we carry are from a variety of designers, and the majority of them actually come with a pre-printed version of the design on weaver's cloth, which is nice because it's ready to go for you. You can go ahead and start punching right away, and they include a paper copy of the design, so if you want to make it again you can, then you would have to trace it, but they come with a screen pre-printed version of the design on weaver's cloth. Now the one thing that you'll notice, and it's really obvious with the design that I have going in my frame right now, is the fact that you are working from the back side. So if you are tracing your design, make sure that you trace it reversed, because you're working from the back side and your stitches will be forming on the front side. So especially for something like this where you have words, you definitely have to have it reversed. Now some designs it's not going to matter if it ends up flipping and reversing on you, but for some it's key. So you want to trace it reversed if you want to make sure it comes out looking like the pattern image. So you're going to get yourself hooped up. The next thing that you need to do is you need to thread your punch needle. Now, the punch needle that we like to work with is the Smart Punch, and we like this needle for a couple reasons. the main one is that it is an ergonomically designed needle. This needle was designed to prevent issues from repetitive motion, because you do have some repetitive motion when you're working with a punch needle project, and this needle was designed to alleviate those issues. So they purposely made it a little bit larger. They shaped it so that it was easy to grip, and a lot of things to help prevent you from getting tendonitis and some of those repetitive motion type injuries. So the other thing that we really like about this needle is I think it's great for beginners, because it has a little bit of an indent here right where your thumb lands. So I would hold it with my thumb there and grip it like that, and that will help me to make sure that I have my needle positioned correctly. I'm going to show you a little illustration here, and this is what the tip of a punch needle looks like. So you have a beveled side, which is actually the front of the needle, and then you have a flat side, and that is the back side. So the nice thing about this little indent part is it is on that beveled side. So as long as you have your thumb in that indent, you're going to have the bevel side towards you, and that's normally how you want to hold the needle. You want to have the front towards you, and you want to work towards yourself. So that is how to hold the needle. So the Smart Punch needle has the ability to adjust. I'm going to actually pull my thread out of here. We're going to show you how to thread it. So it has the ability to adjust how big your loops are. So I have it in the number 1 setting, and I can actually push it all the way out to the 5 setting, and you see how the needle got a lot longer? So I am going to punch until it hits here. So if I'm punching that much needle through my fabric, I'm going to get a longer loop on the other side. So I have actually 5 different depth settings that I can adjust on this needle to get varying size loops. I'm going to get bigger loops if I have the needle out further, smaller loops if I have the needle in further, and I can just depress the plunger slightly, and then I can adjust that pin. Now I can also let it go all the way back here, and I can retract my needle for storage or transport. So I'm going to put myself back into the 1 setting. That is what I normally use, and I'm going to show you guys how to thread the needle. So these punch needles come with a very long, funky looking threader, because you need that, and we're going to insert it into the point of the needle and run it all the way out the back of the barrel. Now I am working with 2 strands of Valdani 12 weight pearl cotton, and I have actually pulled the strand out of the middle of the ball and the strand out of the outside of the ball, and that way I have continuous thread. I don't have to cut off a piece. I've got continuous thread there by pulling it out of both the middle and the outside. So I grabbed both tails basically, and I'm working off of both of them. So there's my thread coming through. So that's the first part of the threading process, and now I have to get my needle threader out of there. So I have my thread now running through the barrel, and the next thing that I'm going to do is to pull it through the eye of the needle. So I'm going to run my threader in again, and I'm coming from the back of the needle to the front of the needle. You want your thread tail coming out the back, and I will go ahead and pop that into the threader. And I got a little snarl here on my floss. Let me just get that out. There we go. Got my tail through. Okay, and we'll go ahead and pull it through the eye of the needle. I've got an extra long tail here. I'm going to back my thread up once I get it through. And now I have it also threaded through the eye of the needle. And now I'm going to just go ahead and pull it back, because I only need about an inch or so tail there when I start punching. So you want to have your thread coming out the back of the needle. So that's how you thread it. So it comes out the back, and the back is the flat side. So to punch with a punch needle, you will typically be working towards yourself. So I'm going to actually hold this so that it's as you would view it if you were punching, and it's going to be a little trickier for me to punch this way, but I'm going to do it so that you guys can see what it would look like if you were punching yourself. So you at the camera are who would be the puncher. So you want to have that beveled side of the needle facing towards you, and you can leave about an inch tail, and you're going to go ahead and press the needle all the way down until it hits the fabric and stops. And then you're going to come up, and you're going to step just a couple threads forward, and you're going to go down again, and you're going to come up, and you're going to go a couple threads, and you're going to go down, and you're going to come up. And it's important that you keep your needle close to the fabric when you are making your stitches. You don't want to come way up like that, because see how I just popped those couple stitches back out? You want to make sure that you keep your needle close to the fabric as you're punching, and you typically are going to move about 2 thread strands over. So about 2 thread strands over. Keep working towards yourself, because you want to be able to see how big a gap you're leaving, and you will work towards yourself. Now, if you're at a point where you need to pivot, maybe you're going down something that's square, what you want to do is make sure you bury your needle fully, and you don't want to turn. You don't want to start working sideways. You want to rotate the hoop so that you can change directions. So if I wanted to go this direction, I'm just going to get that tail out of there if I can. I would rotate my hoop, and then I would start working in this direction. But always work towards yourself and rotate the hoop so that you're always working towards yourself. So now if I needed to go the other direction, I'm going to bury my needle, I'm going to rotate my hoop again, and I'm going to keep working towards myself so that I can always see what I'm doing. You want to make sure that your thread is flowing freely down through the needle, or you won't get nice loops on the other side. When you get to the end and you're ready to stop, you want to kind of get in and hold that thread with your fingernail, and then you can go ahead and pull back, and you can cut that off kind of pretty much flush with the fabric. I usually leave just a tiny short tail on the back side, and that will the fabric is tight enough, the weave of it, to hold the stitches, to hold the punch stitches, so you can cut it off when you are ready to finish. And your stitches will be forming on the front side. We just kind of made a few there, but you can see how those loops are starting to form. And as it gets packed in and nice and dense, you'll have a beautiful finished project. So when you are stitching, what you want to do is to start by punching the design. So if I was going to punch the hat, I would start and I would work my way all the way around the perimeter of the hat. So I would punch, bury my needle, turn my hoop, go across, bury my needle, turn my hoop, go down, and I would work my way around the whole hat. Now when I'm punching a design, I am usually punching right inside the line. So not on the line, right inside the line, because those stitches are going to fill out. And so right inside the line is where you want to punch, and I would go all the way around the hat with 1 round of stitches, and I would go all the way around the hat with a 2nd round of stitches. And after I've got like 2 rounds, then I can just kind of start to fill in. I generally continue to go around and around and work my way in until I end up with just odd areas that I have to fill. But I normally keep working in kind of a circular pattern towards the center. And you want to stitch all of the design first before you do the background. After I have the whole design stitched, at that point in time, I'm going to start with the background. And I will also, again, do 2 rows. I like to go all the way down and all the way around the perimeter. Here you're going to have that little branch to work around. That'll be a little tricky. And go all the way around the design. And I will also make 2 rows usually completely around the design, and then start to work my way in. And I generally keep working my way in, like I said, in a circular pattern, working my way in until I have just irregular areas to fill. But you want to definitely get 2 nice straight rows down on those outside edges. Do those first, so you have a nice finished square edge to your project when you're done, and then start to fill after that. But you will, for most designs, punch the entire background as well. The pattern will tell you. There are some projects that are done where you just punch a design and you leave the background showing. That is an option too, but a lot of them will have you punch the whole background and fill the whole background. So that is how to do punch needle. We hope you guys give it a try. It's a fun handwork project. It's something that's easy to take with you if you're traveling. You can do it anywheres, and it's a fun handwork project, and it has such rich texture and dimension that we love how punch needle projects turn out. So that is a quick how-to on punch needle. We're going to have a follow-up to this video that we'll be posting at a later date that will talk about options for finishing punch needle designs. So we hope you watch for that and catch that one too. Thanks for joining us today.